Hi guys, welcome to your last social skills lesson of your high school career. Yay! So proud of you guys. And we're just going to keep learning until the very end. So listen closely to this lesson, and this actually is really important for you guys because this is all about work. So last week we talked about interviewing. So let's pretend you interviewed for Shop and Save, or oh my goodness, Shop and Save isn't around anymore, Schnucks. Let's say you interviewed for Schnucks and you went in, you nailed the interview, you looked your best, you had worked on your questions and answers, and you had a really good interview, and they said, Todd, I want to hire you. So, yay, you got the job. Now we need to make sure we dress correctly for our job. So for your interview, you're always going to dress up like we talked about. Make sure you look nice and sharp. But depending on what job you get, you're going to have all different kinds of clothes to wear. Some jobs require you to dress up. Some jobs require you to wear a uniform. And some jobs are casual or kind of like raggedy clothes you don't mind getting dirty, just depending on the job you get. So we're going to talk a little bit about what different jobs might require those different types of dress to help you out in case you land one of those jobs. So first we're going to look at some jobs, and on your sheet you can do this. We're going to look at some jobs and decide what you might wear to those jobs. So the first one is a nurse. What do you guys think a nurse might wear? Well, I have first-hand experience with that because my husband was a nurse. He's a nurse practitioner now, so his clothes actually do look a little bit different now, but when he was a nurse working in the hospital floor, he wore a uniform. He wore scrubs. So most nurses wear scrubs. Again, it might depend, different situations, but for the most part, nurses wear uniforms. What about a secretary? Would she be a uniform, casual, professional? Well, we all know a secretary. We all know Miss Hall. And how does Miss Hall always dress? She's always dressed up, isn't she? She looks professional. So most secretaries are going to dress professional. Let's say you're working in an oil field, digging for oil. Are you going to wear like professional clothes? No, because those might get dirty and ruined. So in an oil field, you're going to want to wear casual clothes, junky clothes that you do not mind getting dirty. I also circled uniform because maybe the company you work for, you might wear uniforms. That's one of the ones that could be either or. Let's say you get a job at Macy's, which could be a job that one of you guys get. What would you wear to Macy's? Would you wear a uniform? I'm thinking when I go into Macy's, I normally don't see them in uniforms. I normally see them dressed professional, right? I don't normally see them in jeans. They usually have on like a nice sweater or slacks or something. So that would be a professional job. When somebody's buying something for you, you want to look nice. What about if you worked at a childcare or daycare? My kiddos, I have 3 kiddos in daycare right now. And so I see these people every day. Most of them are dressed pretty casual because with little kids, you never know what's going to happen. So they might sneeze on you, spit up on you, whatever. So you don't want to be wearing something super nice. You want to wear something that you can just toss in the laundry when you get home. So that would be casual. They also might wear a uniform too. I actually worked at a daycare in college and we wore scrubs. So it just depends on what daycare you work at. And what about fast food? That would most likely be a uniform. Most fast food places I go to, they're wearing uniforms. Today, in fact, I was at Sonic and got something to eat, and they were in a Sonic shirt uniform. So, regardless of where you work, you always want to look appropriate. So you want to wear what you're supposed to wear. If you're supposed to dress professional, do not show up in jeans or raggedy clothes. So here's some common do's and don'ts for your work attire. Do, dress for success. Dress for success means dress to do your best. Do wear clothes that fit appropriately. You don't want something too tight or small or something so big it's falling off of you. Wear clothes that are professional but comfortable. So let's say you do have to dress professional to work. You don't want to be so miserable all day that you're uncomfortable. You can look professional and be comfortable at the same time. Do wear clean, polished shoes. You don't want to like look really nice and then your shoes are dirty and scuffy and icky. Now, if you're working in a construction, yes, that's going to be the case. But if you're wearing somewhere where you wear a uniform or dress professionally, you want to make sure that your shoes look nice. Wear clothes that are clean and in good repair. Even if you're wearing scruffy clothes, you want to make sure that they're washed so that they smell nice, so that you smell nice. Or if you're in a uniform professional, you want to make sure that they don't have holes in them and that they are clean and don't have stains. Don't wear clothes that are too small or too big. Kind of already talked about these. Don't wear sweats or pajamas. Don't wear clothes that are too revealing, that show too much skin. Do not wear flip-flops to work. Do not wear clothes with rips or holes. And do not wear too many accessories. Like I have on earrings right now, and I have on my rings and a watch. That's great. If I had like earrings on, 15 necklaces, bracelets up here that were clanking everywhere, that would be too much. So you can wear accessories, but just don't wear too much. So the last thing we're going to do for dressing the part is we're going to look at these different outfits, and you're going to decide what job that might have. So the first question was, what kind of job would you have if you wore jeans, a t-shirt, and work boots to work every day? What came to my mind was a construction worker. What came to your mind? Next one was slacks, which slacks are like dress pants, a dress shirt, and a tie. What came to your mind? I thought of a principal. The next one is sweats, a warm-up jacket. What came to your mind? I thought of an athlete, but then I immediately also thought of a gym teacher. Next is a uniform. What do you think about when you think of a worker that wears a uniform? I thought about a mechanic. When I've got my oil change and I go, it'll say Midas in their name, so they always wear a uniform. What kind of job would you have if you wear a skirt, blouse, and heels? I thought of a lawyer. And then the last one is a company shirt and casual pants. So I obviously, since it's my favorite store, thought of Target. When you go to Target, they're usually in like a Target shirt and some type of khaki, but it's not always the same kind of khaki. You get to wear your own. So those were what I thought of, and I'd love to hear what you think of. So on Microsoft Teams, you're going to put your answers to these questions. I'll have a form that will say dressing the part Tuesday's form or something along those lines, but it'll say dressing the part, so you know to fill out that answer in Microsoft Teams. So I can't wait to see what you guys say. So the next one is our Wednesdays, lesson, which is getting hired. And lucky for you guys, the next 2 days don't have any questions. So on Microsoft Teams, you won't have anything to fill out. You'll just have to listen to this lesson. And I also want you to read this over as well at home. So if you get hired for the job, your employer after the interview will likely call you and let you know over the phone, or they might let you know via email, just it kind of depends. The employer will say, "Hi, Sarah, you've been hired," and they'll say, "I need you to come and work on XYZ day." So you need to pay attention to when they tell you to come work. I know you might be excited, so this would be the time to be like, "Yay, so excited!" and scream in the phone. You can do that inside, but make sure on the outside you stay calm, composed, and say, "Thank you so much." Let them know you're excited, but don't be too over the top. Save that for when you hang up the phone. Thank them for the opportunity and listen to what they tell you to do next, because each employer might have something a little bit different for what they want you to do. Also, if you don't have a pen handy, say, Can you please hold so I can get a pen so I can write this down? They want to, you need to make sure you know what they say so that you actually can start the job when you need to. So different jobs require different things in order to start working. Depending on the job, these are some of the things that they might require. Like I said, some jobs will require maybe all of these things. Some might require one or two. Some might not require any at all. But these are possibilities, so don't be alarmed and be prepared if they ask you for these things. One might be a background check, and that is you're going to give them your social security number, and they're going to run your name through like the police department and see if you have a criminal background, like if you've committed a crime and been charged for a crime. They might ask for a DMV printout, and what DMV stands for is Division of Motor Vehicles, and that is to see if you're a good driver, especially if you're applying for a job where you have to drive on the job. They're gonna want to know, have you been in a lot of accidents? Have you had a lot of speeding tickets? That type of thing. They might ask for your immunizations, especially if you're going to be working for food, and I know you guys all know this because we've talked about this last year or this year at MERS. If you're working with food, you have to have a hepatitis A shot, so they might ask you for proof that you had that. And most of you, I think maybe there's a couple that didn't have theirs yet, but most of you have had that already, so you're just going to have to prove that if you do work with food. They might ask you to get a fingerprint, and again, that is to make and also kind of a background check. So you go somewhere and put your fingerprint in, because if you didn't know this, every person has their own unique fingerprint. Nobody has the exact same fingerprint as you. So they can pull up your criminal background just based on your fingerprint. They might ask you to get a physical, and that means you need to go to a doctor or someplace and get checked out to make sure that you're healthy enough for the job. This is especially like if you're getting a job that requires a lot of physical activity. And then lastly, they might ask for a drug test. This is just to make sure. They'll have you go somewhere and take a drug test to make sure that you're not on any illegal drugs. Also, they will tell you what wardrobe is required. If you get hired at Walmart, they might tell you you have to come and pick up a uniform shirt, or you have to wear a navy shirt and khaki pants, or you can just wear comfortable clothes, or you can just wear professional clothes, like what we talked about just a little bit ago. So make sure you're listening, because they're going to let you know either if you need to pick up a uniform, order a uniform, or just wear particular clothes to work. So once you got hired, you also need to find out what your schedule is and figure out how you're going to get to work every day. Be sure you plan ahead to know how you are going to get to work each and every day. Maybe some days are different. Maybe somebody can take you on Mondays, but you need to ride the bus on Wednesdays. Make sure you have all that figured out so that you don't wake up Wednesday morning and you're not like, oh no, my grandma can't take me to work. How am I going to get to work? Make sure you have this all planned out. Whether you're driving yourself, taking the bus, or getting a ride from someone, it is important to have everything planned out in advance. Make sure your transportation is reliable. Don't ask your friend Thomas, who never shows up anywhere on time, if even at all, because he is not the right person to take you. But maybe your Uncle Joe is very reliable. You know, if you say, Uncle Joe, I need to be at work every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 9 a.m., you know he'll be there to take you. So ask somebody that's reliable, that you can trust. If you miss too many days of work, you can get fired. You do not want to lose your job for missing work. Or if you're late too many times, you can also get fired. So that's why it's so important to make sure that your transportation is figured out and reliable. Like we also talked about, if you're going to be riding the bus, make sure that you have printed out the route and you've practiced the route before you start the job so that you know how to get there the first day. Also, when you start working, you're going to have to fill out what they call a W-4 form, and that is a tax form, so they know how many taxes to take out of your paycheck. Make sure you talk to somebody, your family member or somebody at the job, before you fill this out to make sure that you're getting enough taxes taken out. All right, that's Wednesday's work. Thursday, we're going to talk about social skills at work. This is how to behave at work. So, social skills are an important part of work. You will have to communicate with others no matter where you work, whether by phone, email, or person-to-person conversation. You'll have to talk to maybe your bosses, your coworkers, or your customers. You need to make sure you have good social skills to communicate with everybody and to be successful. So first thing to think about is to be professional. While at work, it is extremely important to act professional. We should be polite and kind. We should do what is expected of us with a smile on our face. Nobody wants to be around somebody that's grumpy and frowny all the time. We should use our manners and say please and thank you whenever needed. Even if a customer is rude, which is probably going to happen, or gets angry, it is important to remember to stay calm and to handle the situation maturely. Be a team player. Constantly complaining to your coworkers on a job is a big no-no and is very unprofessional. Keep your work positive. And if you want to vent, if work is frustrating, which happens to all of us, when you go home, vent to your brother or vent to your friend, but do not do it at work, okay? Next part is, who's the boss? If you're not the boss, then you should not be telling others what to do. This may cause problems between you and your coworkers. You just need to make sure you're doing the best job you can and let your boss deal with everybody else. You can encourage your teammate or your coworker to do better, but don't be rude, bossy, or negative. Also, avoid gossip at work. Gossip is when two or more people are together talking about somebody else. So let's say I have somebody named Jane at my work, and me and Tom are saying, oh my gosh, Jane is the worst worker. She doesn't do anything right. I can't stand to work with her. And Tom says, oh my gosh, I know, I don't like her. That is gossiping. We are talking about her and we are not saying positive or kind or uplifting things about her. And it's really something we would not say around her, so we should not be talking about her behind her back like that. Things like that is wrong. It's not nice to do, and it's not really the place for us to be doing that, especially at work. Some people have nothing better to do than to spread rumors about other people. Do not become one of those people. If someone you work with starts gossiping about someone else, kindly excuse yourself. You do not want to be part of this common workplace problem. Personal stuff. If someone in your family or one of your friends shows up at work, it is important to remember that you are at work. You're getting paid to work there. This is not your free time. If you are at Target stocking shelves and maybe I come in, it would be okay to say, hi, Ms. Tar, but that's it. Do not spend an excessive amount of time talking to that person. You can acknowledge them, but then go back to work. It's also important to keep your conversation with coworkers and customers to a minimum and only related to work issues. So if McKenna's my customer and she comes up and says, excuse me, I have a question about this shampoo. Well, then by all means, I can talk to her about the shampoo. But if she comes up and says, oh, I love your outfit. Where did you get those earrings? How did you do your makeup? That's not an appropriate conversation because that doesn't have anything to do with me working at Target stocking the shelves. So you could just say, thank you. I like it too, or something short. Don't be rude to the person, but also don't engage in a long conversation. Cell phones, oh my gosh, it's a big one. Basically, don't have your cell phone at work. If you have it on vibrate in your pocket and do not look at it while you're on shift. Wait until your breaks. That's basically it with that one. Having a cell phone at work and using it on work time is just going to get you in trouble. So the work motto they have at the bottom is, be where you're supposed to be, when you're supposed to be there, and doing what you're supposed to do. If you do those things, you'll be good at work. All right, and for Friday, we're going to talk about being a good employee. What does it mean to be a good employee? Well, being a good employee is just doing your best. It's always important that we do our best. All of the companies you will work for will train you somehow when you first start. You might need to watch a video, or you might need to follow somebody a couple of days to find out what to do. But once you know your job and practice your skills, it'll be time for you to work on your own. And then that's when it comes into play to be the best employee you can be. So here are some qualifications of a good employee. You're on time. That means if you're supposed to be at the cash register at 9 a.m., you're at the cash register at 8:57. You have good attendance. You follow all the safety rules. You're friendly. You behave professionally. You accept criticism. That means you accept somebody saying, hey, I noticed you were stocking the shelf this way, but it's actually better if you do it this way. And saying, oh, okay, thanks for telling me, instead of being like, no, I'm going to do it the way I want to do it. Accepting criticism means accepting somebody trying to help you do your job better. Do your job well. Be quiet and work. No side conversations. Be productive. That means do the work that you do well. And stay off your cell phone. Can you think of any other ones? I thought it'd be respectful, since respect is our school motto. And I thought use your manners. When you're at work, you're going to be also expected to handle different situations that arise that maybe you couldn't plan for. Sometimes you'll have to go above and beyond your job duty. That means, let's say your job is to stock, but somebody might need help getting something off the shelf. Well, even though that's not your job to help people get off the shelf, that would be a good employee to help that person do that. Okay, so sometimes you're going to do extra things just to be a good employee. So here's some things that might happen at work, and I want you to think about what you would do in this situation. Let's say you work at a grocery store and a customer drops a jar of pickles on the floor and it breaks. You're on break when you see it. What could you do? Take a minute and think about what you would do. What I said I would do is I would either help myself clean it up, or if I'm on break and I know I work at a job that says if you're on break, you have to be on break and not working, I would go tell somebody else to help in that situation. What if you see a fellow coworker stealing something? What would you do in that situation? This is another one there's a couple different ways you could go. You could tell your manager. You could talk to the person you saw stealing it, or you could choose to stay out of it. And that just kind of depends on the situation and where you work. What about a coworker bullying you? In that situation, if somebody's bullying you, you could stand up to that person and say, I don't appreciate this, but sometimes that's intimidating to do. And if you don't feel safe at work because of this bully, then it's important you talk to a manager or talk to somebody in human resources. So I would love to see your answers to these questions. So this will say, being a good employee response sheet. I want to see your answers on that on Microsoft Teams. And that is your last social skills lesson. Bye, guys.